Senator Ayotte.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to follow up with what Senator Cantwell asked about, because I think this is a real deep concern. And Mr. Pritz, so how do you respond to Chairman Leibowitz's comments that he made yesterday that it would be a disaster for the business and consumer, and as well as my background is I was an Attorney General of our state, and I know what a challenge it is for law enforcement to investigate these types of crimes. And it really makes me concerned when I hear things like 12 recommendations made by the law enforcement community to address concerns related to the action that you're about to take, and only 3 were even considered. So can you please address this and these deep concerns that we all have?
Certainly, because we share the same concerns, and want to launch this program and create an internet that's safe, stable, and secure. And so there's really several answers. I'm going to just start at the last one. There are 12 law enforcement recommendations that they develop in consultation with ICANN accredited registrars. And right now, ICANN is renegotiating the contract it has with registrars to adopt as many of those recommendations as possible. In fact, since I'm in Washington, D.C., I'm going to leave here, and this afternoon, the ICANN staff is meeting with registrars and have our 3rd meeting to discuss not only the 12 law enforcement recommendations, but also recommendations from ICANN's policymaking body for improving registrant protections by changing the contract we have with registrars. So the number of 3 is sort of incorrect. Our GNSO is considering 3 of those recommendations, but in fact, in a face-to-face bilateral negotiation, ICANN is working with registrars to adopt as
Well,
many of them as
one thing that leaps out at me, we're talking about a January rollout, and you're negotiating things that are incredibly important when we think about protecting consumers, and obviously from fraudulent actions. And the internet has been used for it's a wonderful tool, but also has been used by predators and others. So when I hear negotiations ongoing for something that's a January rollout, that leaps out to me to say, why are we rushing into this?
Yeah.
So how do you respond to that? And then also, I would like to hear you respond to Chairman Leibowitz's comments.
Yeah. So, and I will. So the negotiations are targeted at delivering a new registrar accreditation agreement by the springtime. I forget when the ICANN meeting is, but I think it's in March or April. So the timetable for delivering a set of amendments for that is then. I think the job of improving the safety and security of the DNS, the domain name system, never stops. It's ongoing. Part of what's in our testimony is that many new protections for registrants and for internet users are embedded in the new GTLD process. So there's a series of trademark protection mechanisms that have been developed by, the great thing about ICANN is if you have a hard problem to solve, you can get world-class experts to sit around the table. So for trademark protections, we sat with 18 well-recognized IP attorneys and developed trademark protections. We also developed a set of malicious conduct mitigation measures that each new TLD will be required to adopt. How did we develop them? We get internet security experts from the Anti-Phishing Working Group and other groups called the Registry Internet Security Group, and FIRST is another one. And so we called experts together, and embedded in this process are substantial protections for trademark holders, and then measures to mitigate malicious conduct. Some of those measures are the requirement to adopt this DNSSEC that we talked about earlier, stringent criminal background checks, checks to determine if a new GTLD applicant has had a history with UDRP where he's been taken to arbitration over domain name abuse. There's an elective security program for institutions such as maybe a .bank that wants to provide higher security. There's a strong incentive for registries to provide searchable who is and a requirement to provide a centralized zone access. And I say those two things together because that makes it easier for law enforcement to search databases and hook up criminal activity. So all these were meant to provide protections and provide new tools for law enforcement. So that was a great bit of work, but I agree with you that the work is ongoing, and that's why we've accelerated. You know, we have these recommendations from the law enforcement, and we're accelerating this negotiation with registrars and want to bring to you and the rest of the internet community some results on it.
Well, appreciate results on that, except it seems to me inherently these are very, very important issues, and it doesn't make sense to me that you'd have a January 12th rollout with outstanding issues that are as important as you described with respect to the negotiations that will impact important protections for consumers and the law enforcement community. And I would just say, I know my time's up, but it is very challenging for a member of law enforcement to investigate these kinds of cases. And as I hear your testimony, you're not even sure how many you will have at the end of the day when you open this up. So that is really going to be a challenge when you go from 22 to, who knows, 1,000. And it seems to me that that in and of itself is going to be a huge challenge for law enforcement, which also bodes well for us. I mean, it seems to me that caution should be used to make sure that we don't rush into this. So I appreciate you are all coming to testify today for this very important issue.
I didn't answer your last question.
Oh, well, my time's up, so
If you want to, that's fine, if you want to answer it.
Yeah, so I'm sorry. We take the comments of Mr. Leibowitz very, very seriously. We've received, as we developed this program, we received comments from representatives from other governments along the same line and have worked very closely with governments and to develop the protections that are here and, intend to monitor. There's an automatic break in the process. It's slowed down after the first round so that we can measure the effectiveness of the trademark protection mechanisms and the sorts of things that Mr. Leibowitz was talking about. Particularly, I know he's talking about improving the accuracy of the WHOIS data, and ICANN has a four-pronged approach to that. So anyway, we take his comments very seriously. We've heard them from others throughout the development of the program, and we pledge to him and want to have further conversations with him, but to everyone to monitor this program as it goes to make sure that improvement for law enforcement and for everybody it's a continual improvement process and not a one-step process.
Thank you.